Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. In the last 2 weeks, the Obama administration has opened its jails to release more than 2,000 criminal illegal aliens. That's what I said, 2,000 criminal illegal aliens. Now let me be clear on one thing. All of us are immigrants to this great country, and everyone deserves an opportunity, including those children born here, irrespective of how their parents entered the country. But what is unbelievable is how reckless this administration has been in their release of dangerous criminals onto our streets, giving them a "hope you come back soon so we can deport you" card. The administration response?
This was a decision made by career officials at ICE without any input from the White House as a result of fiscal uncertainty over the continuing resolution as well as possible sequestration. As ICE made clear yesterday, the agency released these low-risk, non-criminal detainees under a less expensive form of monitoring.
That less expensive form of monitoring he's talking about? Open the prison doors and let them walk. Not so bad, right? The White House says they are low-risk, non-criminal detainees. Jay, if they are low-risk, non-criminal detainees, why are they in custody in the first place? Where are their lawyers? Where are the immigration rights activists? The truth? Somebody's lying. They wouldn't be in custody if they weren't considered dangerous. They are the worst of the worst, and the Obama administration is letting them walk among us, putting Americans in danger. How do I know this? I have the memo to all field office directors, all special agents in charge on the issue of the detention of illegal aliens by ICE's top dog, Director John Morton. It says, ICE agents should issue detainers only where an individual is an alien subject to removal and has a prior felony conviction, 3 or more misdemeanor convictions, or poses a significant risk to national security, border security, or public safety. And get this one, they cannot detain an illegal even if he or she has 3 misdemeanor convictions if they're considered minor misdemeanors. You know, petty crimes and the like. So if they only have 3 petty crime misdemeanor convictions, ICE cannot arrest them, let alone detain them. That means only the most serious are the ones in custody, the ones who are now being released. But listen to this clueless California congresswoman in lockstep with the White House.
The detainees in question are not dangerous criminals. They pose no risk to society.
The reason they give for this mass exodus is that it's required by the sequester. The truth? This release plan was hatched and acted on even before the mandated cuts were signed into law. It's part of what I call the Obama amnesty program.
We're doing our very best to minimize the impacts of sequester, but there's only so much I can do. You know, I'm supposed to have 34,000 detention beds for immigration. How do I pay for those?
How do you pay for them? Is that the question? How about the fact that this year you had a carryover of $8 billion from last year's budget? At the end of this year, it is estimated that there will be $9 billion. How about the $70 million you have in unobligated user fee balances? And I have an idea. How about you reduce staff bonuses and performance awards? How about you use those unspent funds from state and local grant programs instead of releasing criminals? How about you not spend money on ridiculous things like that $98,000 for an underwater robot for Columbus, Ohio, where there are no major rivers and few lakes nearby? And that $24,000 for a latrine on wheels in Fort Worth, Texas. And by the way, if you're going to release those detainees, make me feel better. Give them a bill for those transgender hormone treatments, those new teeth, and those abortions they had while in our custody. why not admit that your plan is to bring the mandated 34,000 detainees down to 25,000 in the next few weeks? Even your own assistant secretary said statutory mandates are that there be 34,000 of them in detention. But I guess Jay Carney didn't get that memo. Take a listen.
This step affected a few hundred detainees, as you know, out of the over 30,000 currently in ICE detention.
A few hundred? Now, we know that that's not true. And now you say you didn't know it was happening. Kind of like a corrections officer letting out a few violent criminals to please the warden when the warden never asked for them to be released in the first place. But no problem. These criminals are going to voluntarily come back for their own deportation. The same ones who snuck into the country and have been determined to be a danger to the rest of us. Hope springs eternal, doesn't it? Now, I have an idea. If you want to save money, and if you want to release individuals who are non-violent criminals, even if they have petty triple misdemeanor convictions, why not release someone who didn't break the law to come here in the first place? Why not release an American criminal? Personally, I don't think anyone should be released from jail before their time. As I said, the first order of government is the protection of its people. But I guess the Obama administration didn't get that memo. Joining me now are two men working to protect us, Iowa Congressman Stephen King and House Judiciary Committee member and Pinal County Sheriff, Arizona Sheriff Paul Babu. Thanks for being with us, gentlemen.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks, Jeanine.
All right, Congressman, your committee obtained an ICE document regarding the release of these criminal aliens that is very revealing on the issue. Tell me about it.
Well, as near as we can tell, and I only have the executive summary of that document, but ICE had made a decision that they were going to release 2,000, and that took place and is taking place before the sequester kicked in. And now their plans are to release another 3,000, so roughly 5,000 inmates out of the 34,000 that they're designed to have. And as you can see, they're seeking to punish Republicans and try to teach a political lesson by increasing the maximum amount of pain to the American people by doing the releases. And we will have hearings before the Judiciary Committee. I expect it'll be John Morton and others that will testify. We will want to see the documents of the charges that are actually up against these immigrants that are already, I believe, adjudicated for deportation. But they are criminals, and it reminds me of the Mariel boat lift when Castro released from his jail the criminals, the misfits, the deranged, and threaded those among some good people from Cuba that came to the United States.
Why would the Obama administration, I know you think they want to punish Republicans, but they're punishing Americans by releasing these criminals. These are the worst of the worst, Congressman. There's no question about it. ICE is not allowed to arrest, let alone detain them if they're not. Why?
Well, this follows the pattern of the administration where some months ago they used for 300,000 that were adjudicated for deportation. The president, I believe unlawfully, decided that he was going to stop the process of deportation. They'd already been adjudicated for deportation, and en masse by classes of people, they've just decided they're not going to enforce the law. And the president also created a work permit out of thin air.
Right.
This is unconstitutional actions on the part of the president. This is outrageous.
Sheriff
it puts
Babu,
the American
you were in
civilization
Arizona.
at threat and risk.
Yeah, well, there's no question. But, Sheriff, you're in Arizona. You've got your ear to the ground. Who are these people who are being released?
These are people who have been convicted, not just charged, convicted of everything from weapons violations, drug smuggling. These are cartel members. These are narcotic traffickers, drug dealers. These are people who have been in fights, aggravated assault against police officers. How in the world can you say that they're low-risk, non-criminal detainees? These are the worst of the worst. These are people who have been convicted of child molestation. We have people who have been released, I'm told, by ICE agents who have been charged with manslaughter. And now they're out in our communities, and we have no idea who they are, where they went and what their entire criminal history is. This is outrageous.
The amazing part of it, Sheriff, is that they haven't been returned or deported to their country, although they're in detention awaiting deportation to their own country, but they've been released onto the streets. Now, I understand that there are whistleblowers from ICE who wanted to come forward and talk about what had happened here, but that ICE ended up sending out a memo. Do you know about that memo, Sheriff?
Yes, there's not just one, there's several memos, and I received no less than 4 direct ICE and other federal agents who have come to me and said, Sheriff, they're releasing hundreds of criminals right now in your county, and they have since received memos from ICE saying that anybody who releases this information outside our agency shall be disciplined up to and including termination, creating an atmosphere of fear and intimidation when these federal agents who swore an oath to protect our country are being intimidated to do the right thing.
And Congressman King, last question to you. If indeed, as some of these documents indicate, that there is an effort to get down to 25,000 of these detainees, thereby releasing 9,000 onto the streets, what can you do about it? Very quickly.
Well, we can bring this out in the public eye. We can bring John Morton before the committee. I want to see all the documents for the charges and the convictions on these that are released. But in the end, it's awfully hard to make the administration enforce the law. And we've seen that pattern over and over again. There are steps that, we can take. We can cut off funding and do those things, but that doesn't help when they refuse to enforce the law. And Jeanine, Judge Jeanine, it is not a matter of funding. The $9 billion that is not going to be utilized already carried forward into 2013. That would incarcerate over 150,000 inmates. Well, so this is nothing but a false argument that the president has delivered to us,
but
and it does punish the American people.
Sheriff,
he's trying to teach us a lesson that we can't cut the budget.
It's not just a false argument. It's putting Americans in danger. Congressman King, Sheriff Babu, thanks so much.